Kate. We're live, and
We
it's
are.
June. Well,
I'm
it's
glad
June.
we're alive, aren't you, Deb?
Very glad that we're alive, and we get to celebrate the energy of winter. Can't we feel that cold breeze, cold winter's chill, and very appropriate that we're in front of the fire. So this month we've dedicated to connection, Kate, and I've been looking forward to connecting with you and everybody to explore what we mean by connection. We'll touching on in a little bit in a minute, but for me, I was saying that this quote that I stumbled upon, I really connected with when it was shared by one of our team members, Tanya, and it was about a Brene Brown quote that said the connection was the energy that exists between people when we feel seen, we feel heard and valued, and that when we can give and receive without judgment, and that the relationships that we have, we can derive sustenance and strength. And to me, it really captured that, as you said, that reciprocal energy of what connection is all about.
I love that. It's like inside our bodies, we've got afferent and efferent nerves, don't we? So it's, we feel something, we have a reaction, and then we have a response. And that continual flow is connection to me. I feel like this week in particular, it's a super important theme, not only this month, it is our monthly theme for Soul Advisor, but, this week we're in National Reconciliation Week. And that's really an important week every year because it starts to emphasize the necessity to start to develop reciprocal relationships and connection between those who've always been here and those who've come more lately. And I just really love the whole concept of that this year. They're doing a big shout out to everyone. Doesn't matter what blood you have in you, doesn't matter who you are. But it's be brave and bring about change. And so, that's for me a very exciting theme. I think that's what we're doing here at Soul Advisor. And one of the things that we've done in our yoga community is to set the challenge this week for every single yoga teacher to please acknowledge country prior to their classes. And and that doesn't have to stop at yoga classes. It could go to Pilates classes. It could go to energy healing, sound healing, all our practitioner base here at Soul Advisor. So, connecting to country through acknowledgement is so important. And acknowledgement to country, I think all of us have felt at certain stages when we've heard people do acknowledgement, cringe, like that just sounds like you're mouthing the words, but where's the intention? Where's the connection? This week, this month, we're emphasizing connection. And consequently, I think it's very, very important for us to acknowledge country, which I will do in a minute. But I feel like, that acknowledgement, the most important thing of giving a proper acknowledgement is the connection. First of all, to sit quietly beforehand, connect to yourself. And when you come into that still receptive point, then and only then should you actually acknowledge, because it has to come from your heart, and it has to come not from your heart but also through you, because what you're doing is connecting to elders and community past and present who've walked this land. So it's really, really important when you acknowledge, and it shouldn't be taken lightly.
No, and I love how you've just said that too, and it connects to that quote which resonated, was that it's about true connection. So it comes first and foremost by connecting to self, being present with self, and then connecting with another, acknowledging and respecting another, and creating that energy that both of that got that reciprocal component to it. When we've been able to do that in our team meetings, as we know, we do that each time we do our team meetings. Every single time, and this is something I really respect and honor, what you brought into our team was to do it for where we were on that day. It wasn't something that was written and it was a rote, or it was, the standard sort of spiel each time. It was about connecting to ourselves, being present, and then what potentially might be the message or the acknowledgement that we wanted to bring at that time. And it was always different, Kate. There's never been one that's been the same, So, to me, and that's what life's about. Life isn't about it being a static conversation. It's about acknowledgement and connecting for where you are today and to who you're connecting with.
Absolutely. You know, connection, real connection is about being present, isn't it? So I don't think I've ever known what I was going to say, Deb, in my and
I like our fireside chats, Kate.
I've never written it down, and in fact, you shouldn't write them down. Like, as you'll, can I share with our viewers that tonight you're going to be doing a cultural awareness training with Eve White and Jem Stone, who are both beautiful practitioners on our Soul Advisor site. And it's a cultural awareness training of 3 hours. And during that, they talk a lot about how to appropriately acknowledge. And one of the most important rules is don't write it down, because that acknowledgement related to the time that you wrote that down. That acknowledgement is not here now, sitting by the fire, the dog snoring, you and I talking, Deb, you know, with whoever's listening in. So it has to come, it has to be direct, it has to move through you and come from the heart. And it's about being brave to make that change, as this theme is, you know, like it's kind of like a prop, isn't it? When you write it down and then you're looking at what you've written and reading it back, and it comes across like that. It comes across as something that's not really here and now. So, yeah.
And I think, as you just said, bring it to, as you were saying, it does. It's taking us from our head to our heart, which is where true connection comes. But then if I go to the reverse, because I have been known on many occasions to write down a speech and then the notes get left at home, and then I've been, you know, it's been like my angels or something push me out going, you know what you need to say, don't worry about the notes. But a lot of times those nights is because you don't want to get it wrong, or you want to make sure you do it right, and you don't want to disrespect. So it's not like there's any blame in regards to doing it that way, because it does often come from the place that you want to make sure you do it right. But then when you actually are about connection, it can't be wrong, because it's coming from a place of real intent, of real love, a real honoring. And so if you're in that space and you're out of your head and in your heart, then whatever that connection is going to be okay. But I think that's where it is. It comes from a fear of, I don't want to disrespect. I don't want to get it wrong. I want to make sure I do this appropriately.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And sometimes you get it wrong.
I'm a big believer if something goes wrong, there's a reason for it. There's something that swings back, and it finds its way.
You know, that beautiful quote that you just shared with us comes from Brene Brown, who's known for talking about vulnerability, you know, and only in true vulnerability can connection actually happen, really, because, you know, I have to go, okay, you know, caution to the wind. I'm going to explain where I'm coming from to you, and explore who I am in your company, which can lead to a very negative response from you or whoever else might be listening. So, and if that happens, then it's kind of real, isn't it? Because then if it's a negative response, that person says, oh, I don't want to hang out with Kate again. And probably Kate doesn't want to hang out with them either. You know, and so we find our way through this incredible humanity and, you know, landscape. Yeah.
And that's what I meant by the definition of wrong and what you've just said, negative. It mightn't be a pleasant response, but it's not wrong. Do you mean it might be that friction or that tension that was created, there might have been a reason for that. Like I forever, you know, again, it's at the time, don't get me wrong, I've felt anger and frustration, whatever, but often when you reflect back on those moments that you might have considered to being wrong or negative or bad, it shaped who you become.
That's
so,
it.
I mean, so as you said, as long as you're vulnerable, as long as you're being who you're meant to be, as long as you're open and present, as long as you come with that intent of always trying to share in that space, even though in that vulnerability there might be things that are uncomfortable to take on, it still is what's meant to be at that time.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, this month we've invited the Australian Breathworkers Association, ABA, to come along and co-convene the Illuminate session that we're going to have on the Friday, the 17th of June at 5 p.m. for those of you that are listening. But, you know, for me, breathwork is like that, isn't it? There couldn't be anything more connected than breath work. It helps you connect to your deeper self and really allows things to start to move around and flow and reconnect and connect for the first time and whatever else. And it can be thoroughly unpleasant sometimes during that breath work. It's not all bliss, but you come out of it feeling like, oh, I've got a pathway, or I see something now that I didn't see, or wow, I do not like that part of me. I might not never ever do that again. Or you might come out with a feeling of connection to the divine and the pure samadhi and bliss of it all. So you never know what you're going to get when you go in there for a breathwork journey and connect to yourself. You really don't. So that's why we've invited them along to be with us. Yeah.
And that particular event, are we going to be exploring also around loneliness and isolation? Is that sort of some of the themes that are going to be explored there?
Absolutely. Like Australia and throughout the world, I think the loneliness statistics are fairly horrendous. And it's now been shown through countless research papers that loneliness is one of those precursors to all kinds of mental and physical illnesses. And breath workers work a lot in trying to reconnect people to themselves, and that's why we've invited them. But then comes the connection to others, and how do we deal with that, and how do we move into that space? Here we are developing a really strong community at Soul Advisor for just that reason, because many of us, all of us practitioners, we're often working in a lonely space. We're often working as a solo practitioner, and so having a community that can support us is really, really good, isn't it? And healthy.
True, Kate. And for me, obviously, the dreaded COVID sort of episode that we're getting ourselves through. I wonder that whole disconnection that we were placed in humanity, where people couldn't connect with each other or see each other or touch each other or see each other. I imagine that there's a lot of implications that will come out of what that occurred as well, because to me, humanity needs to connect. We need that social interaction. And I remember also reading that a large chunk of when people get elderly, one of the biggest things to their quality of life is their network, is their connection. So, the word connection to me is part of being human. Part of this whole experience is being able to connect with ourselves, but also with each other.
Yes, I totally agree. And, I think that's true for every stage of life. Like babies that grow up with a lack of physical and emotional connection with their parents, that the rest of their life is not an easy trip. And then how about all the teenagers that during COVID haven't been able to go to parties and nightclubs and hang out with each other and go to school? And that's been horrendous. Like the mental health implications were really scary. All across the world. Yeah. But anyway, we're here about connect, not disconnect. So I think maybe it would be great. Do you want to do one of your incredible card moments, Deb?
I'll do a card I'll just shuffle it
after that.
Let's see what message we need to share today. And as always, we're using the beautiful Gaia Oracle cards, Mother Earth energy. Oh, we've got sacred journeys today. Can we see that?
Ooh, isn't that pretty? Lovely.
Sacred journeys. Talks about the life cycles, family, and transformation. So, when we think about, and number 22 as well, 22 is an interesting number, isn't it?
Again.
The whole what's that, Kate?
You and I and our number 22. We're constantly doing 22.
It actually says here, physically we're born of this earth, and to the earth we shall return. Yet spiritually we're never born and we never die. We never come and we never leave. This was the card that we got for 22, on the 22, wasn't it? This card reminds you that we are each so much more than our physical reality. In fact, from our soul's perspective, this current life is just one page in a never-ending book, which is the eternal story of life. Wow. So that's, from my perspective, when it talks about that and the connection is that everything that we're doing, like it's not even just this lifetime, it's the next lifetime or the lifetime that came before, which again, when we do our acknowledgement, we look for our elders, both past, present and emerging, don't we? It's that whole cycle and how the world actually plays. And in this particular one as well, it also says that each play is designed for maximum effect. Otherwise, it would get very boring. So as actors, we are each required to play our roles well. And through our drama, we expand our understanding of love, which touched on our conversation about vulnerability as well, is not to get attached to what is occurring, even though we need to experience the energy around that, but in itself is actually evolving us. And the different roles we play and the people we will encounter will help us grow. It's through our drama that we come to understand how sacred life is.
And drama is very boring if it's all fairy tales and butterflies, like it needs to be up, down and all around, doesn't it? And, I often say that those of us in relationships are on the coalface. It's not easy being in real relationship. It's not easy. And we sometimes need support mechanisms of everybody else around us to hold us in that space honorably and vulnerably and frankly. I think it's such an important part of our soul's journey as we move from that first breath to the last to actually play all the different tunes that we can play. Yeah.
It comes back right from the cycle of what we started with, which was all about connection, being vulnerable. And the connection is coming from that energy of being seen, being heard and being valued. Both you as of you being seen, heard and valued, but also the person that you're connecting with. There's a lot in there. So it's interesting. We're probably going to finish with our practice that we normally start off. It'd be lovely for us to experience a real connection.
But I guess what I'd like to do is an acknowledgement for this month, Deb, because, it's the 31st of May whilst we record this, and it will be the 1st of June tomorrow, and it's the month of Connect. So I'd like to invite everybody to close their eyes if they feel comfortable to do so, and just to feel themselves nourished and held by the air all around them. That movement of the breeze or the wind as it is here tonight, the fire in the background of this recording, or what other form of heat you have there, to think out across the land towards the eastern horizon, whatever that might be for you, and the western horizon, and whatever landforms occur towards your west, towards the southern horizon, and be it the plains, the hills, the forests, the city, and the northern horizon, up towards the warmer climates, spreading your mind out through the waterways where they originate and where they lead to, and feeling yourself as an alive being nestled in that landscape, connected to country through your breath, through the waters you drink, through the food you eat, and through all the other humans and living souls in the form of other living beings, your pets, wild animals, the trees, the fish, the insects, the fungus, the rich, rich tapestry that you exist within. And as you think of all those that huge myriad of connection, that tapestry, the bits that are uncomfortable, the mosquitoes in your life, the bits that are truly beautiful, the sunrises, and everything in between. As you think into that and feel your connection to country, I'd like you to join with me in giving thanks and true respect to the elders and the traditional owners of this land, the waterways, the skies, and the seas. Those who've really walked this land and looked after it with deep reverence, deep connection, and deep respect, so that we're able to be here now, doing what we all do and enjoying this land's beauty. And I'd also like you to really think into your contribution, your connection, the reciprocity of the connection between what you're given and what you give. And this month ahead, may we all think deeper into those connections to country and our humanity, past, present, and future, and what we're leaving as our legacy, and what we've been given as their legacy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kate. Beautiful once again, a beautiful way to acknowledge all that we have. So thank you for sharing that. And you sort of sink into it, don't you? It's just a beautiful way to start our beautiful month of June about connecting. So was there anything that you wanted to say or add, Kate, before we wrap up for this
Just
month?
Before we do, I'd like to remind people that, again, that we have the Illuminate session happening on Friday, the 17th of June at 5 p.m. when the Australian Breathworkers Association, in particular John Stamoulis, the president of that association, and all his gang will be there to support the idea of Connect and to discuss it. So we allocate, how much time have we allocated for that, Deb? Sorry, I'm having a mental blank.
No, and you're saying the 17th, Kate. Has that time changed? I thought it was the 16th.
No, that's the Friday afternoon at the 17th, at 5 p.m. That's when we're doing it.
At the moment, we've got the 14th of June being the breath work with the Illuminate, and the men's table at the 16th of June. So I'm not quite sure if those times have changed, because obviously you've been working with them directly with John, but
yes,
they have. So it's the 17th for the breath work,
Friday,
and it's the 16th for the men's table.
It's the men's table, and we're inviting mostly men, but women also who are interested to come along. It's being run by the Men's Table, which is an amazing organisation, in particular Michael Collins and David Poynton, who will convene the session. And we're inviting men to have a vulnerable and interesting conversation about what it is to bring about healing in your own life and to be a healer or a therapist or a practitioner. And it will be a really, really interesting discussion. So that's at 12:30 on the Thursday, which is the day before Illuminate. And it will run for an hour. So we truly hope that you'll be there. All of these events will be shared on both our Soul Advisor Collective Facebook, where you're watching this, and also on our Generalized Soul Advisor Facebook. In addition, we'll be sending this out in the newsletter. And and I'll also put those connection points below this recording once it's moved across to Facebook. And in addition to that, it's Men's Health Week, and connection couldn't be more important for the men in our lives. And men connecting to men is also really, really a great thing. So we're interviewing 7 of our incredible practitioners during the week of the 13th to the 19th of June. Every day we'll have a 20-minute session with one of our practitioners talking about what brought them into this whole field of being a therapist. And I'm really looking forward to those discussions because they're amazing, the people that we've got coming along. Yeah.
That's great, Kate. So that's the 16th. We've actually got our men's table entree. The 17th, we've got our Illuminate event. We'll be putting this up over the next day or two on our YouTube channel, which obviously has not just got this, but our wellness forum that we held last week. Those will be coming out, our soul bites. There'll be a lot of more content coming up this month. Our newsletter will hit people's inboxes in the next couple of days. And there's also a little sneaky sort of preview that we're actually going to have our first physical retreat coming up, an event in July, and a retreat in August. So there's many things that are coming offline and going physically. So please, if you haven't already subscribed to our newsletter, please do, because that's the one way that we make sure everyone knows what's happening. And if you are on the newsletter, we'd love for you to come along, because it's great to connect online, but it's also wonderful to wrap your arms and give each other a hug. So hopefully people will be able to see us over the next month or so.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much, Deb, and good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye all.